everybody. This is Ashley from TikTok's 130 Books in 130 Days, and you're listening to the If It Was a Book podcast, the show that takes real life stories and rewrites them into what would happen if it was a book. For people who love reading, writing, pop culture, and general ADHD chaos. Today I am joined by debut author Maddie Martinez, who wrote her debut novel, Maiden and Her Monsters. It's a sapphic fantasy book that takes inspiration from Jewish mythology and comes out September 9th through Tor. Maddie, do you have any other qualifications you'd like to add for why you think you're the perfect person to rewrite this as if it was a book?
I am a pantser, which means
Okay.
that when I write, I have no idea what's coming and I always think about things as they come. So I feel like I'm used to the chaos of coming up with something on the spot. So that's my qualification is chaotic drafting.
I love that. Yes, I am not a writer, but I am a librarian. I'm a book talker, and once I spent a year reading a book almost every single day. I don't recommend it, but I did it. So I've got a lot of plot lines up in my brain
Going through your head.
just all the time. And then, Maddie, do you have a story that you'd like to share with us? And then we can try to rewrite it.
Yeah, so I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. When I was younger, the city's changed a lot since then, but when I was younger, there wasn't much to do outside of, school and work. And so I used to go on these like little adventures where I would find a new place and I would try to break onto the rooftop.
Okay.
That was like the sole purpose of the adventure. Which also shows how like little there was to do. So I remember there was this one time I got really good at sneaking into hotels and pretending like I was a guest, which is really funny given how old I was at the time, because I was like this teenager who was very much a teenager going into these hotels that I definitely could afford, sure, and pretending like I was a guest. And then I would either like go to the elevator. I mean, there aren't many hotels in that area where, you need a key card. I feel like that's more of like a bigger city thing. Or maybe they've started to institute like needing a key card to get into the elevator after people like me did these shenanigans at their establishments. But so it was pretty easy to get into an elevator. If I couldn't get into an elevator, I would take the staircase and I'd go up to the top. And one time I went with my friend up to the top of this hotel. Basically, we wanted to find like the highest viewpoint we could see of the city, which was funny. If you know, like the Albuquerque skyline it's really small. It's really beautiful, but it's really small. Or like see a view of the mountains. And we went up to this hotel and we were in their stairwell that like the elevator left you off to the top floor and then you had to go into a separate stairwell to get to the roof. And on that stairwell, there were a bunch of like little messages and names written into the wall of, I assume, other hooligans who were doing this exact same thing. And I always wondered what it would be like to try to track somebody down from one of those like messages that somebody left on the wall.
Hmm.
Because we found like, people's names or they would leave a message or like a date or a name. And so I was like, it might be interesting if that was like kind of unlocked its whole own story. Sometimes like in shows they'll find these old letters and then they'll try to like trace back these letters. So yeah, that's my story.
No, I like it. I've got two different ideas for it.
Okay.
So, there are two ways you can go here. We can each write our own thing and then come back and tell each other about it, or we can work together and shout out ideas as they come. What is your preference?
Oh, I would love to work together.
Okay, perfect. So I've got two thoughts, and the first one follows your idea of doing like we're tracking down a specific person who has written on the walls in a very like, have you read The Library of Borrowed Hearts by Lucy Gilmore?
No, but tell me
Okay.
more.
So the main character is a librarian. So of course I read it. And they are cleaning out this basement in the library and they find these like old library books that they need to get rid of. And one of them is like a banned book from, I don't remember the era, but it was banned because it was like raunchy. There are notes in the margins of two different people and they're basically talking to each other. So they each checked this
Ooh.
book out like a lot so that they could write to each other and they sort of have this falling in love situation, but they don't end up together. And so the main character is trying to reunite these people who are now like 70s, 80s. They're much older people who had this romance, this literary romance when they were 19, 20. So that one, real cute, definitely recommend. And I think that we could
Yes.
definitely go with that, where we're like tracking down someone from the past. Another option, which I think could be fun but goes a little bit more into the sci-fi realm, is if we have this stairwell that is literally a time machine. And so each of
Ooh.
those people, you get to get like a little snippet of their actual story as we progress through a culminating plot that's like throughout. What would you like to do?
Ooh, they're both so good. Maybe since I'm an SFF author, we could go the more like sci-fi fantasy route, since that's a little more in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So it's gonna be probably a haunted hotel because Albuquerque.
Of course. There is like a decent amount of haunted hotels in Albuquerque, so
Yeah. The first like conference that I went to with other people was in Albuquerque. I'd been to a lot of psych conferences because I did psych in my undergrad, and that was the first one I got to go to like with friends. So I actually did stuff instead of just like hiding in my hotel room when I am
yeah.
not actively presenting. So I really enjoy Albuquerque. I know you said that there wasn't a lot to do, but I liked it. We went on this hike that we took an Uber there, and then when we left, it was like in the middle of a neighborhood, so there were no Ubers to go back, and
Mhm.
it was stress.
Yeah, I can
So like
imagine.
it, the sun was going down, and we were like, how do we get 40 minutes back to our hotel? There's no ride shares in this area. But that was just my personal Albuquerque experience. I have some really cute pictures because I had like a fancy camera back then. So I think the time travel one is fun. So we've got this haunted hotel, and are we saying that the stairwell is what transports someone, or like opening the door to the roof is what transports them?
I feel like maybe something in the stairwell.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So I think that what I struggle with is
Yes.
like a overarching plot line. So like the reason that we're going through all of these times.
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts on what you'd like to do?
Let's see. My brain instantly went to something very sad.
It can be sad. That's allowed.
Maybe it could be like a I'm gonna try to find you in every universe type thing.
Okay.
So maybe the main character like lost somebody that they were really close to and found out that they could travel through time from this stairwell, and they get it in their head that they, I don't know, maybe want to try to change something from happening, or see if they can find, if we want to do like the different times, or if we wanted to do like the alternative like universes, like find a universe like where that person's still alive or something like
Mhm.
that. What do you think about that?
I like that when you started, I thought you were going to say what I'm going to say now,
Yes.
which was going to be in a very sad way that they have lost somebody and are perhaps going up. But of course, then they open the door and it's a different time period. Perhaps there are people up there who are like having a great time.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps there are different. I like the going back to fix things. So I'm thinking that like perhaps there are these different timelines and no, not timelines. Same timeline, but different years. So they
Mm-hmm.
go back and then they find out that this is now a magical stairwell that can transport them through time, but in within their universe. They open the door. There are people out there. So I'm going to say that they talk to those people, maybe not even realizing right away. Maybe they're like, oh, this is a costume party or
Yeah.
whatever. Plans have been foiled now because you don't want to traumatize those people. So you're talking to them, and then over time you realize that it transports you back in time. So now the goal is to go back and save that person who was lost. So you're going back into the stairwell and back out like different times and meeting these different timelines where you meet different people. I keep saying timelines, that's not what I mean. Different
Time
years where you meet,
periods. Yeah.
yes, time periods where you're meeting these different people. Perhaps one of them ends up being like the grandmother or the grandparent of the person who is lost. So you can kind of see them in that face and see them. But I think that, like, in my mind, the end of that one would be that, like, no matter what you do, it was kind of their time kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's
I
big emo hours. We don't have
no,
to go.
it's so classic. I would come on here and be like, here's the saddest story. No, I feel like it makes sense. And maybe like the whole thing that they're trying to do is like they can't get to the specific time period that they want to get to, and they're trying to like figure out why they can't do that or something like that. And that's how they like invest in the help of, I don't know, maybe they meet somebody from a time period who was in a
Mhm.
similar situation and was on that like roof during like a party or whatever. Or maybe when they were like coming back down from the roof and it was somebody who they saw in the stairwell, like escaping the party, like maybe smoking a cigarette or something. I don't know. And they bond over being emo and sad about the life that they're living in. And then they both like, agree to help each other find, like, change the past, sort of. And then, yeah, the ending being like they can't.
Right. I like that. I also, once you said it, I will fall in love with you or I will find you in every timeline. Also makes me think like reincarnation wise, like we could
Hmm.
also do that, like each of these time periods, you're re-meeting that person who is your soulmate, and then you can't leave the roof because once you open the stairwell again, that that time period, that universe is gone.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I don't know. There's so many thoughts. I really like this prompt. I just don't know where to go.
Fair.
I'm gonna let you pick. You're the guest. You
Oh
decide,
my
and then we'll
gosh.
build off of that.
Okay, so we're deciding between like this person, the main character, meeting somebody in different time periods, and it's always like the same person, but just throughout the different time period, it's like their true love. Is that the person that they lost that they're trying to find
Yeah.
again? Okay, I like that. That's really sad and heart-wrenching. Let's do that.
Okay, so we're gonna do that. We need some characters. I
Yes.
don't. I'm like in a rental. I don't even have notes here, so I'm gonna pull up my notes app. So, who would you like our main character to be? Do you want to be the main character, or do you want to make up a main character?
Let's make up a main character.
Okay, so who do we want our main character to be? The person
Hmm.
who's going through the stairwell.
Yes. I feel like it should be like a queer woman of some kind.
Sure.
Maybe she's like really brooding and like just like negative about the whole world. And maybe like because she found her true love like and that's who she lost, right? So like
Right.
maybe that person was like, it's kind of like a grumpy sunshine dynamic, I
Hmm.
guess. And so she like lost her sunshine person and is like falling back into this like grumpy sort of like, well, that was my one chance at happiness.
Right. Like now everything is meaningless kind of thing.
Yeah,
I like that. Does she have a name?
I'm sure she does.
I what I often will do is I'll just pull out a book. So let me see what books I've got nearby. Oh my God, I just finished this fake dating hockey romance. So let's see what they've got. We've got Jack. I feel like that's gender neutral. Lila.
Oh.
Um, let's see.
I kind of like Jack.
Okay, Jack
Yeah.
for our main
I feel
character. And
like a grumpy lesbian named Jack. I love it.
okay, great. So we have Jack. And then who is her partner who has passed away?
Okay, let's see.
I've got Leilani. I've got Greg. That's not probably not her name. Let me see. Jesus, probably not her either. There's a lot of boy names in this one.
I feel like
Oliver.
every
Oh,
name in
Olivia would work. Delilah.
Ooh.
God,
I like
Vivian.
Olivia. Olivia's a good
Olivia.
name. Yeah, Jack and Olivia.
Okay, Jack and Olivia. So, and then Olivia's more of the like sunshine character,
Yeah.
which of course is just much more heart-wrenching that she's the one that passed away.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say that that is also like part of why Jack is able to find her in all of these. I am saying now that it's universes and not timelines, although they are, or it's, yeah, universes and timelines instead of time periods, all because of the reincarnation kind of bit.
I like it. Yeah.
So that's kind of why she can always find Olivia, is that like she's just such a ball of sunshine. She like just radiates this energy
Yes.
that Jack is so drawn to.
I love it.
So, okay. So I think that this is going to be just the most heart-wrenching book of all time. Because she's just gonna
Bridge
fall
to
in love with her.
Terabithia. Take a step back.
Take a step back, actually. It's whatever we're calling this one because it's gonna hurt you. So I think that like we're gonna go through a couple of different chapters, and I think that we should each kind of plan out a couple of them. But
Okay.
like in each one, Jack opens the door and there's a situation happening in which Olivia is part of the situation. And she gets to talk to her, gets to fall in love with her. Maybe in some of them, Olivia's already dating someone else, and it's
Oh,
like a right, like that
yeah.
is your person, but is it right that you put your needs above theirs, that you kind of like, but also as soon as you leave the roof, it's over.
Yeah.
Or do we want to make it so that that's not true?
Like you can leave the roof?
Like, yeah, because well, I think maybe in one of them we're gonna find out that you can leave the roof when Olivia invites Jack downstairs, and I want to say that they've been accessing the roof through the fire escape. They're gonna live in one of the apartments.
Okay.
I know it was a hotel. Oh well.
We can change it.
Because I think that that's going to be our first time leaving the
Okay,
roof at
okay.
some
Yeah.
point within the story. But I think that in all of the timelines, Jack and Olivia can't be happy. So sorry to break everyone's heart. But I think that, like, I'm really picturing that one where they're going to leave the roof. But
I have this scene in mind where like maybe it's a little bit towards the end where like I don't know if I should preface the way I write stories is so out of order. So if I'm all the sudden like
no, I love
here's
it.
the scene at the end I'm thinking about. But like maybe like post midpoint where if like you do run down the stairwell as opposed to like maybe the fire escape and it does kind of switch the timelines. Like maybe Jack's trying to talk to Olivia and Olivia like runs away
Hmm.
and like Jack's like running after her trying to stop her, but
Right.
then she like escapes and they have to like start over again.
No, I agree. I think that's, and you never get closure of that universe. Like
No.
that one, that never happens. And then also from Olivia's point of view, Jack disappears. Like,
Yeah. And it's gone
because
forever.
the stairwell is not magic for Olivia. It's only magic for Jack.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my God. Rip that universe, Olivia. That one's a little stressy for you.
She's gonna need therapy for the rest of her life.
No, for real. So I think in the first couple, Olivia and Jack should fall in love again. And for different reasons, the scene ends. So like
Hmm.
they're at this party. Maybe it is a themed party, and we think that it's historical for a second, but actually no, it's just alternate timelines.
Yeah.
And then the party ends, like they have to leave. Maybe one of them, like the police show up and they're like, you cannot be on the roof of this hotel. And so everybody is filing down the staircase, and Jack, of course, is disappeared. In some of them, at least in one, I think that Olivia has to already be dating someone else.
Yes. I like the idea also of Olivia always talking about how like she wants to find somebody who will like always show up and like
Hmm.
who will be constant in her life. And Jack's obviously this person, but Olivia doesn't know that because she thinks that Jack keeps leaving, or not that Jack keeps leaving, but like every version of Jack keeps disappearing. And so,
Right.
but she doesn't know that Jack is like literally always there.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a
Okay.
lot. I think, okay, I'm changing it. I'm saying the
Okay.
end. I'm changing the ending.
Okay.
I think that Jack and Olivia are going to get to be happy, but only in these like short periods of time. And
Mm.
I think that Jack is going to accept that in the end and be like, I'm literally thinking of that part in Epic where they're like, I will fall in love with you over and over again. And I think that
No,
she's
yeah.
just going to be like, it's no matter what, spending any time with her is worth the pain of losing her over and over and over again.
They are so that song also.
Oh my
I'm
God,
already
yes.
like headcaning it. I agree with that. And then I also think like that's good because you could talk about like the thematic message of like you never know like what's gonna happen and all you can do is like live in the moment and be
Mhm.
content with the moment that you're in. So yeah, I like that.
I think for like the ending scene, I'm picturing like literally the last page. I'm gonna say that Olivia is like, okay, like it was so great to meet you. Like, let's hang out again. And she's like leaving the stair, like she's leaving the stairwell. She's leaving the roof, and Jack is like still up there, and she's just like, yep, I'll see you next time.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is heart-wrenching. I
Yeah,
love it.
let's just really hurt ourselves. I think that's the answer here,
Yeah,
is to
okay.
just cause a lot of pain.
Yes.
So I think that let's each think of a couple of scenes for
Okay.
this like short period of time that they're together, and then we can we've written the end, so we know how it ends, and then we can be done.
Yes.
But I want just like a couple of little cute moments between them. So I keep thinking about the one where they get to leave the roof, and I think
Hmm.
that's one that I would put like probably in the middle, and I'm gonna say that they have this like whirlwind night of romance situation, and they go down the fire escape and into Olivia's flat. And I hate to do This is what was happening in my mind. Not to never
Yeah.
let anyone be happy, but they're gonna spend the night together. And in the morning, I think that if she falls asleep, it puts her back on the roof. Or because the
Mm.
alternative is that like they fall asleep, and in the morning Jack wakes up and Olivia has passed again. Because I think that in this universe she can never like they can never have
Yeah.
a lot of time together. So she's taken to this time before her partner passes, but like no matter what, she was destined to live this like short firework sunshine life and burn out too fast.
Or maybe instead of like dying, like Olivia's so excited and she's like, I'm gonna go grab us coffees. And she like walks out, but out of the door and not the fire escape. Like, and it resets the.
Oh, okay, yeah. So like any doorway situation resets.
Yeah, maybe. And
Okay,
maybe Jack's like, no, don't. And then like Olivia like goes. And then obviously comes back with coffee and Jack is gone.
right. That's probably better than killing her off.
She dies in this like one lifetime and we're like, no.
Like actually, it's your time. So
I think I just have trauma from The 100 where they like sleep together and then I don't know, have you seen The 100?
I have, but I don't think I watched far enough for this is when Lexi and Clark get together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got together and then I was like, okay, I'm done. I didn't
Literally.
because I knew and I was just like and it ends here.
And they're happy ever after.
Hmm.
No, the second they wake up, she like dies and I'm like, so now I have trauma of like when people like sleep together and then they wake up and one of them dies. All because of Clexa.
That's very valid. That yeah. I someday I'll finish it, but I was just like I think
I
I'd
don't
seen a
think you have
spoiler
to.
and I was like I don't want to experience this.
No, I think you made a very good choice.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I think that there should also, we've talked about this before, but I'm gonna say that she opens the door in one instance. Jack opens the door, is onto the roof. Maybe Olivia is by herself this time,
Hmm.
and maybe she was having like a very hard day and she was at the top. And I'm gonna say that Jack is like someone who's really there for her, and maybe Olivia's feeling very alone. This is the first time she hasn't been like so excited, so bubbly, so happy.
Yeah.
Something happened in this timeline that like really hurt her. And Jack is able to make her laugh, make her smile, make her the person that she is, but in a way that Jack is usually like a darker presence. And in this
Hmm.
case, she's lighting her up.
Oh, I
And then,
like
of
that. And
course,
maybe also they dance, and there's some familiarity in the dancing that like kind of ignites something in Olivia. She's like, "You remind me of someone," or something like that. But Jack, I don't know, maybe I mean, I feel like we could either have it where like she either like is like, "I could tell you what we are, but you would never believe me," or there's
Mhm.
some sort of like magical restriction on her revealing this. I feel like either one could work because who would believe that?
Yeah. Well, and I think that like eventually Jack is going to realize that Olivia goes on to live lives once she leaves the roof, and like is it
Hmm.
worth telling her that like oh yeah, we are this thing to each other, and once you leave you will never see me again.
Yeah. And
So it might be
like
something that Jack is protecting
confining
her from.
her. Yes. Yes. That's worse. I mean, like better, but like worse.
No, I really like the dancing together. I think that especially because Jack is gonna like have the muscle memory of like this is exactly how I hold
Yeah.
her. This is exactly where the small of her back is. Like this is how we dance together.
Yeah.
And I want to say that it's not quite the same for Olivia because this Olivia has never danced with Jack before.
Hmm.
So I mean, of course they're very comfortable, but maybe she's like a little bit more nervous and she's like, do I put my hand here or where do I?
Yeah. And
And I think
maybe
that
it's
Jack will be
like
very reassuring there.
from her POV and Jack's like be like I have all of these memories of her hands on me like this and the fact that she knows none of them and I'm like in my head torturing myself with these memories and she's none the wiser. Yeah, that hurts.
I think that's great. I think that's good. And I really like the you feel so familiar thing that you had said earlier from Olivia.
Yeah.
I think that like in a couple of the chapters, at least one of them would end in a kiss, and then I think that it would be like, man, I feel like I've known you forever, or something like that.
Yeah.
And Jack is just like, it's been lifetimes or something.
It feels like lifetimes. And she's like, she doesn't know that I actually mean it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the timeline where Olivia's dating somebody
Okay. Yes.
because that sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Love
And
some
I don't,
jealousy.
yeah, I think they're definitely jealousy. I don't think that Jack would try to break them up. I think
No,
that that's just going to be one where Jack is going to have to like be her friend, and there's going to be
I
a
think she
few.
would internalize the pain
Hmm.
and she would just be
I think
like tortured inside.
you know what would hurt worse if Olivia's dating a dude,
Mm.
because then is that what you wanted?
Maybe it's like I mean, love a bisexual queen. Go, Olivia.
Right.
Maybe she's like, well, okay, is this a modern time period?
Well, that's up to
Like,
you.
because if it's more historic, like if their original timeline is more historical, maybe there are like some gender dynamics at play where like they have insecurity about like how much they're able to give each other or
Mhm.
I don't know, something related to that. And there are things that like this boyfriend can give her that she never could.
Right.
So we could like add in that aspect if we wanted to like bring more sexuality questions into it. Or we can just like make it a guy for fun.
No, I like the questions. I think that it would also be interesting if it was historical for like both partners to be each other's beards.
Mm.
Where they're like, this is the past and we can't be with who we want to be, but we both know each other so well and we feel so comfortable with each other and like this is a safe person for me to be with who knows that I'm not going to be attracted to them. I'm not going to expect like they're not going to expect anything sexual from me. I'm not going to expect anything sexual from them. But I don't know. That might be dark.
I think I like Olivia genuinely being interested in this person.
Okay, cool. Yeah, bisexual queen.
Bisexual queen. And maybe she's like genuinely interested in this person.
I think that
And
hurts more for me
I
as
think
like
it
the
hurts more
Jack
too.
writer. I'm like, ouch.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely hurts more, especially because maybe, in the original timeline they had all these conversations about how they found each other and like
Hmm.
they fit so well, sun and moon type thing. And then for Jack to be having all of these conversations like replay in her head while she's watching Olivia with this like other person. Meanwhile, like she can't begrudge Olivia because this is like not her Olivia, this is somebody else's Olivia. But to have it be the same person, so like it still hurts. I think that's delicious.
Do you think that the partner would be very similar to Jack or very different? Do you think that it would be
Oh.
like that's another kind of dark, broody, black cat kind of character? Or do you think that they would bring something like very different to a relationship with Olivia than
I
Jack
think
does?
it would hurt if they were very different. Maybe like very charismatic, very like
Right.
charming,
So
kind
then
of
you
like,
have that like I could never be that kind of
yes, exactly.
ouch.
Yeah. Ouch. So yeah, I like that option a lot. And
I think
maybe
that'd be good.
like, how would that one end?
I think that would be one of the ones where they like just have to be friends, where it has to be like a my love for you is not only romantic, is not only sexual. Like love you who you are. So then I think that they would just be friends and maybe they'd talk about like a shared interest that they have in both realities.
I think it would be really interesting if they're having a conversation in this timeline and Olivia is like, talking about this boyfriend. Maybe he's, I don't know, breakdancing on the dance floor and Olivia's like smiling and Jack is like, "Are you happy?"
Uh,
And she's like, "Yeah, I really love him." And then she's like, "What about you? Like, is there anybody
right.
like that makes you feel the way that this person makes me feel?" And Jack is like, "Once."
Yeah. No, I like that. I think so. I'm still on that same chapter, but slightly earlier. I think that maybe we don't know right away when we open the door that
Hmm.
Olivia is dating someone. And so I think Jack is going to start it the same way that she like always starts these interactions where she's just like trying to get to know her and maybe even having like a romantic day in mind. And then the partner comes up either to like sling their arm around her shoulder or she mentions him. I don't know his name. He doesn't have one.
He doesn't have one.
Hold on. He needs a name. Ian? He can be Ian. Okay.
Sure.
So Ian either comes up to the group and is like, hey, babe, all bubbly and excited to meet a new person, or she brings him up in the conversation as like, maybe Jack is like, who are you here with? Like, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, I'm here with my boyfriend Ian and his friends. They're doing this dance party over there. Get a load of this guy.
Yeah. I love that. And maybe it's in a time where like Jack is starting to understand what's going on and then is like
Hmm.
has this moment of hope where she's like maybe like I can get her to fall in love with me again in these bits of time that we have together. And so maybe she like comes up with this plan on like how to try to like I don't know if she thinks she can like jog Olivia's memory or just kind of show her how well they know each other like as
Hmm.
people, but like however and so she's like has this moment of hope and then when she goes into this timeline and her hope is kind of like crushed when she finds out that in this timeline Olivia is dating somebody.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that episode, it's TV now. I think that episode should come after one where they like either get together or almost get together, where
Yeah.
Jack is then like, "Oh, it's possible. Like we can be together in these short
Mm.
snippets of time." And then the next one, it's impossible.
Maybe like an almost kiss meeting
Hmm.
that they have or something.
I think I want to say that in all of these, Jack plays out the whole thing. I think it's easy to be like, oh, well, she's dating someone in this world. I'm going to go back into the staircase and come back out in a world where she's not dating anyone. I think that Jack's going to play out all of them until Olivia leaves, just as like I want to spend any time I can with her, no matter which version of her it is.
I like that. And then I also think maybe Jack has a deep rooted fear that the one time she walks out will be the last time. And so, like, she doesn't trust the universe to keep making this happen because she's like, why would
Right.
the universe, like, do this for me? So maybe also because she wants to live out, like, any moment she can with Olivia. And then there's also that, like, fear that if she leaves, she'll always regret it or something like that.
Oh, I like it. Then at the very end, we get Jack just kind of deciding to live in this like perpetual cycle of days with her. Or do we want to say that she's going to kind of go back to her life at some point?
That's a good question.
I was just thinking that we could do the last chapter in Olivia's point of view so that it's ambiguous because Olivia only ever gets these days.
Yeah.
So once that Olivia says goodbye to Jack, that Olivia never sees her again. So it could be that like we as an audience never know if Jack is doing this forever or if Jack someday leaves this cycle.
That's tragic. I love it. No, that's so good. Yeah, I love the idea of the last chapter being an Olivia point of view. I feel like there needs to be a conversation that Olivia and Jack have that kind of flips the switch in Jack's head about this, like what the thing is that makes her decide that she is never going to have the life that she did with Olivia. Like, what's that like final indicator when she learns this lesson, I guess.
I think maybe if we have a chapter where Olivia is just like not interested in being Jack's friend, not interested in doing anything with Jack, where we like really start to understand that like this is not your Olivia. These are different people who share similar traits. They share the same face. They enjoy a lot of the same things, but they are different people. And you will never have your Olivia back, no matter how many times you go through the
Mm,
staircase.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be like mean, just in a like, oh yeah, hey, welcome to the party or whatever. She keeps trying to talk to her and she's like, I'm actually busy doing other stuff.
I'm gonna go. Maybe like they have a conversation and she's like, yeah, I don't think I'm interested in a relationship or like, yeah, something that is just so completely not like the Olivia that Jack knew
Hmm.
that when she walks out that time, she's like, yeah, this is not my Olivia. And then has to like wrestle with the do I come back again and like see her even though we will never have this together or
I think we have to have one more scene after that where and that could be the final chapter in Olivia's point of view. But I think that like earlier in the series, we needed to have, it's a whole TV show. In
I feel
earlier
like we're creating
episodes,
like a mini series.
I know, I think that in earlier episodes, we have to have had like little sprinklings of things that she enjoys, that Olivia enjoys.
Hmm.
And then in this like last chapter that's in Olivia's point of view, she's gonna say something to Jack. Like maybe Jack is using one of the things that they've always had in common. Like they love Kit Kats. They both love Kit Kats. So they're talking about all the flavors of Kit Kats or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's like a an icebreaker that she's used a lot in these different scenarios. And in most of the universes, Olivia likes this thing. And in that last one, even though they're still like, I think the last one is still going to be a happy one. It kind of needs to be hopeful. I think in that one, she's not going to like the Kit Kats or whatever the one thing was that they were using as a like, well, my Olivia loves this thing that this Olivia doesn't. And it's going to be something like kind of innocuous, but it,
Like
like
really
the
small.
right, but that the audience can catch up on and that like
Yeah.
maybe this Olivia sees Jack make a face, but then they carry on like usual, and then they get to that end part where Olivia's like, "Well, it was great meeting you. Like, I'll catch you next time." And then Jack is like, "Yep, see you next time." And then maybe that's like the end where Jack has realized that it's not the same person. Like
Yeah.
they are different.
And maybe it's something that was mentioned earlier, like at the very beginning where Jack, I don't know, maybe has something on her person that reminds her of this thing that Olivia liked. I don't know if it was like maybe like a necklace of like I don't know.
I like the necklace. I think that it'd be good if like if Jack is wearing Olivia's necklace that her mom gave her or whatever, and
Hmm.
then when Olivia passed, Jack started wearing it to remind her. And then in this universe, this Olivia, her mom never had that necklace or never gave it to her or
Yeah.
what
Oh,
have
I like
you.
that.
And so then she's like, "Oh, that's a nice necklace. Like, where'd you get it?" or whatever. And Jack is like, "Oh, it doesn't look familiar." And she's like, "No."
Yeah, that's sadder than what I was thinking. So I like it.
What were you thinking?
I was just thinking, I was like, I don't know, it could be like in the shape of a fruit that Olivia doesn't like anymore in this universe, but like used to love and whatever. But I like yours better.
Yeah, I think maybe Olivia's mom had passed away when she was like a
Yes.
teenager or something in Jack's universe. And so
Yeah.
then Olivia was wearing this necklace that reminds her of her mother. And then when Olivia passes away, Jack starts wearing it. And then in this new universe that's in our first time in Olivia's POV, her mother has never passed away. So she was never
Yes.
given this necklace. And it's just a
Yeah.
different person.
I like it, especially because something like that shapes you so much. And I feel like that might be the final indicator. Like maybe they bonded over it too.
Right.
Like maybe Jack lost her mom or something, and that's initially how they bonded or something. And so
Yeah.
because that was like so fundamental to how they found each other, without that, that's how Jack realizes this is not and never will be the Olivia
My
from
Olivia.
my
Yeah.
life. Yeah.
Oh, I like
Tragic.
it. Oh, it sure is. Okay, cool. I love it. I think that this is great. I think that I enjoy doing these with pantsers who are not planners because I have no idea what's going to happen. And so I'm like, yeah, let's just go.
Yeah.
Uh, there's no planning in this. So you just go.
You just go. Love it.
You just go. So do you want to tell us anything about Maiden and her monsters and maybe anything that you think is similar in the book that we just wrote or something that's very different?
Sure. Should I give like a little pitch for it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
My debut novel. It's called The Maiden and Her Monster. It comes out with Tor on September 9th, and it is a sapphic reimagining of the Jewish myth of Golem. It follows a young woman who ventures into a cursed forest to hunt the monster that's been killing the girls of her village. And she finds a monster, but it's not who she expects. She finds a disgraced golem who is ready to confess to these murders, but if and only if she helps her free the imprisoned rabbi who created her first. They unravel this much larger political plot in the meantime, and she has to face growing feelings for the creature that she was once taught to fear. I think there's a lot of similarities, I think, in that grief is a big discussion in the book. And Malka asks, like, why does God let this happen? Like, why do I have to deal with so much grief? Grief for a lot of things, grief of memory, grief of people. And so I think that's pretty similar. I think the brooding main character who's like weight of the world on her shoulders is very similar to Nimra, one of the love interest. So yeah, I'd say it's relatively similar, perhaps a little bit more hopeful than the story that we just crafted, but
You didn't just go big emo hours in your debut novel?
there's definitely emo hours, but probably not as emo hours, yes.
But for book recommendations, I think that as a debut author, people would have a lot of questions. Do you have any advice for people who are writing their first novel or who are trying to become traditionally published authors?
Yeah, I would say just keep writing. I feel like it's very generic advice, but it's so true. I feel like the biggest hurdle that people have when wanting to be a published author or wanting to be a writer is just finishing the book that they're writing. And I think just if you keep writing, there's always editing, get edited so much for so long, and you should never compare the draft that you're working on to the books that you see on shelves because the difference in editing is a lot. Like I think the final draft of my book was like its 10th draft or something like crazy like that. And so obviously when you're writing a first draft, it's not going to sound like that. And I think as soon as you can accept that it's not going to be perfect, it's not maybe not even going to be good, and you persevere through that is like the biggest hurdle to getting your book ready to query to agents and then trying to get it traditionally published. So that would be my advice.
So I just read, well, not just, I read it a little while ago, Beg, Borrow, and Steal, and that one is about two authors, one who's traditionally published and one who is writing their first novel and wants to be published and has this like heartbreaking experience. Spoilers for Beg, Borrow, and Steal, has this heartbreaking experience where she pitches it to an agent who basically was going to be like a sure thing, and they like shoot her down so hard. How hard would you say is the querying process?
It's a hard question to answer because I think so much of it is based on luck and timing. And it's rarely about the quality of your book or the quality of your pitch. It can just be what the market's like at the time. And I think because so much of it is unpredictable, that's what makes it so difficult. And also the fact that the way that the industry is set up, agents, their job isn't to really read queries and find new clients. Their job is to support the clients that they have. And then they read queries and read queried novels on the side, which is unfortunately just the way of the industry. So I think that makes it difficult. I think that there are always agents who are hungry for stories. And I know, at least in my experience, there have been authors who are, maybe further along in the process. Maybe they're on their second or third novels, or before I was a debut author, they were a debut author. Before I had an agent, they had an agent. And there are always authors who, if you're sincere and you're kind, want to help you and want to support people and have their books being seen. So I would say obviously it's difficult, but there are avenues that make it a little easier. But it's so unpredictable, which is why I hesitate to say but you can do it because it's out of so many people's hands. But if you want to publish a story traditionally, I would say perseverance is your best friend.
And how long did you work on your draft before you submitted it to agents for querying?
Yeah, I worked on it. So I started drafting, I think in November of 2021 is when I started getting the idea, started working on it. And then I went through a round of self revisions and two beta revision rounds where I sent it to some friends and they gave me feedback on it. And I believe I entered into the query trenches in of 2023. I was like, these years are nebulous in my head. I was like, what year are we in now? Yeah, so from November 2021, April 2023 is how long I worked on it before I sent it to agents. And for some people that might sound really short, for some people that might sound really long. It just depends on your process. But 3 rounds of revisions is where it took me to get to the level where I was like, okay, I need like a professional set of eyes on this. I've edited it to the best of my extent, and I don't know how to fix it anymore by myself. And I feel like usually when you get to that point, that's how you know it's ready to be kicked into the trenches.
Thank you. I know that a lot of our listeners are trying to be writers or are already writers and have a lot of questions about the publishing process. So that's great to know. I end all of my episodes with book recs from my guest. So I have a couple of questions for you. First one is the hardest one. What is your favorite book or series of all time?
Yeah, that is tough. One of my favorites is the Devabad trilogy by Shannon Chakraborty. The first book is The City of Brass, and I love that series so much. It's such a gorgeously rendered world. It follows basically this political upheaval in this Jinn city that's kind of like a portal fantasy from Egypt, I guess. So yeah, it's this whole other realm, and I just love the morally gray characters. I love the relationships. The writing is beautiful. The storytelling is wonderful. I think Shannon is such an immense talent, and I think about that series like nearly daily.
And then what was the last book that you read that you loved so much? If you were rating, if you rated it 5 stars, if you don't rate that you're just like, I will never stop thinking about this book.
Yes. So I haven't finished it. I'm actually, the second we finish, I'm gonna go finish it. I have like 20 more pages left, but I'm currently finishing the sequel to The Jessed Heir by Sarah Hashem. It's called The Jessed Crown. It is this duology. The second book comes out in the summer, I think July, but it's this world inspired by Egyptian mythology and like clans. And it's political. The romance is stunning. I am obsessed with everything that Sarah writes. She's such a fantastic author, and her dialogue is so witty and funny. And honestly, it's like for a debut duology, it's one of the most stunning series I've ever read.
And then what is your most anticipated book coming out in 2025? It can be your own.
I never want to read my book again, so it's definitely not my own. But yeah, my book is coming out in September. There's so many books that have yet to come out that I'm really interested in. I've been lucky to have read a lot of my anticipated releases so far, but one of them that I'm really looking forward to that comes out in October that I haven't read yet is When They Burn the Butterfly by Wen-Yi, who it's also coming out from Tor. It's set in like a historical fantasy following Singapore's girl gangs, and it sounds amazing. I cannot wait to get my hands on it, and I'm so glad that historical sapphics are like having their time this year. Like, yes, ma. So yeah,
Yes, definitely.
that's one of my anticipated releases for the rest of the year.
Great. Okay, great. I think all of those books sound good. I will be reading them. That was If It Was a Book. If you have a story that you would like to submit for one of our guests to possibly rewrite, you can do so at ifitwasabook@gmail.com. We take submissions there. We also have a website now where you can submit things. Very exciting. I designed it myself. Don't judge it too hard. If you liked what you see, you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at If It Was a Book. You can follow me, the host, on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, where the video episodes of this podcast are at Wicked Reads. And Maddie, where can readers find you?
Yes, so I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and I have a Twitter. I'm not really on there, but it's all at Maddie S. Martinez.
New episodes are available every Monday. You can watch video episodes of this podcast on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get podcasts. Feel free to rate it if you want. I don't know. Okay.